All right, welcome. This is the Living Library, and I'm with Rebecca Rullo. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Okay, good.
Good, good.
You.
So as always, if you are watching this and you are a member of the Karmic Margin Call Time Bank, you can redeem this hour that you're watching as an hour served. And I actually met Becky through the Phoenixville Time Bank, and we might talk a little bit about that. And we spent many hours putting together a group called Deep Democracy, where we really wanted to have the deeper conversations about what we're seeing in our world and how we would like to change our world. So I invited Becky into this conversation because we're going to look at spirituality. We're also going to look at the many different arts that Becky practices as well too, or has had experienced in. Because one of the things I'd really like to get launched, in addition to a living library about spirituality, is also one about the arts and the artistic expression. And Becky, before we started this recording, Becky had told me that she had spent at least 6 hours planning the writing process that she'll be sharing with us today. So all of those hours that Becky had put into her expression, her artistic expression today, is all going to be redeemable hours on the time bank. So I really want to help people understand that there is no time ever wasted. The time it takes to really create your art, to create your expression, it all matters. I know it's oftentimes devalued in our world and in the marketplace, but we're going to change those rules. So, Becky, welcome. I just want to ask you first, what was it like? What was this writing process like? Because we asked questions about spirituality and the arts that you practice. Walk us through what it was like writing what you had wrote that you will be sharing with us later.
So there was like a pretty long reflection period that kind of got me reinterested in thinking about what I believe because I haven't really thought about it in this kind of depth before, I guess.
Mm,
Um, like all the experiences I've had and just like leading up to where I'm at today. So it was really fun, interesting to do, to
good.
consider that and just like consider the ways that I'm like similar with people and different from people and their experiences, like from the groups we've talked about and everything.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Actually, yeah, now you remind me, I forgot to mention as well, all of these interviews are with people from our Exploring Integrity group. So, how has that experience been for you? We're about halfway through the process now. Is there anything about that group or about that process that is alive for you at this moment?
Yeah, I mean, I really like hearing everyone's experiences and the topics that come up
Hmm.
during the groups. So it's really interesting to hear what people have to say.
Hmm. Yep, yep. And you had mentioned also viewing the entry with Kylea that I think we recorded a week or so ago. So two Scorpios, and that started a little bit of a writing about astrology as well that hopefully you'll share with us as well. So yeah, so great. Why don't you read the first paragraph of that entry that you had created, and when you're done the paragraph, just pause and I might ask a question or two, or I might just say, please continue.
Okay. I
Mhm.
kind of just started in my childhood, how I kind of grew up in a with a mom who was Protestant Baptist Christian.
Mhm.
Um, I used to write stories and poems and draw pictures for my stories, and I used to try to pick up songs on the keyboard we had.
Mhm.
Um, but as I got older, I wasn't really sure how people knew God was real. I started to just see things in the church that were just like odd. And I just didn't really know, like I didn't feel like I was a Christian, like so I didn't call myself that, and I felt like I was more agnostic.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't really feel connected with people there either.
Mhm.
Um, and so I would say like the first experiences of Christianity for me were of what I call the bad side of it.
Mhm.
Um, and then should I stop there or go into the
Sure.
middle?
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that too, because what what I am very interested in and also exploring is what is not working with Christianity and the church. And when you say the bad things, what were some of the things that you had noticed that kind of gave you that bad feel?
Mhm. So as I got older, just the way that they treated me in general, and when I started getting interested in like different fashion styles, like countercultural and different music, like rock
Mhm.
music, it was just like immediate judgments and like claims that I was like this bad person and everything, and I didn't know like what they were talking about. I was like, I didn't do anything. I don't know what's
Yeah,
going on here.
yeah,
um, there were other things my mom talked about as well, that are, like, a little harder to remember, but she didn't always agree with all the rules that they were trying to, like, enforce on everybody, and,
mhm.
um, yeah, that
Yep,
was a big part of it.
yep. And then so you moved on, and yeah, it's very hurtful how those judgments, and that's part of. I found that to be a part of religious culture quite a bit, is the judgments about, the way you dressed, what you listened to, and there's not really any kind of like deeper conversation about it,
Mhm,
and authenticity about why, music or dress, resonates with you. So yeah,
mhm.
let's go on to the next piece, the next paragraph that you wrote. You know,
So through adolescence and middle school, I also started having, some mental health things with social anxiety and, like, depression. Um, I made a friend at that church who, um also didn't really like that church and was judged by the people there a lot. And then I started making friends from public schools also. Um, so I started to see other perspectives like outside the church and everything, like atheism and different ideas. Um, and then drawing and writing and listening to music became like really um, like helpful things for my mental health and just being in nature. And I started to feel like spiritually connected to things like artistic things, music and nature. I started taking guitar lessons, skateboarding, just things like that.
yep.
And then
You were
getting
almost in
interested
a band too, right?
Yeah.
Almost in a couple bands.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Which we practiced a couple times, but they just never got serious. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, and then my mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Mhm.
So then we stopped going to church for a couple years when I was about 12, and then we started going to a different church due to
Mhm.
like all the legalism and hypocrisy in the other church.
Mhm.
She thought maybe trying a different one would bring a different result or something, I guess. So we went
Mhm.
there just for Sunday services until I was about 15.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, with the mental health aspect, because that's something that's I'm very passionate about, is finding the intersection between mental health and spirituality. At any time, did you ever find a practitioner or therapist that, that was particularly helpful, that really helped see you, as you are, and help that healing process? Was that a part of your journey with mental
No.
health? No.
I didn't see a therapist until I was 18.
Mhm.
And it was for a very brief period because of different financial issues and stuff. And then that's been like kind of a hindrance ever since then as well. I tried two others that just didn't feel like the right fit, and I didn't really have the finances I felt to put into it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a big conversation right there. Just first of all, the cost of finding a mental health practitioner, or getting mental health care, and also what I'm hearing, and please correct me if I'm off base when I say this. What I'm hearing is you might have found some healing in the arts that you practice. Is there any truth
Yeah.
in that statement? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Mhm.
Mhm. Great, great. Let's go on to the next piece.
Okay. Um, so then I kind of entered in high school. I went to a Christian high school.
Mhm.
And at that point, I was like pretty critical of Christianity because they had been so close minded toward me and just didn't
Mhm.
feel connected with them. So I used to discuss some of the doubts with a friend I had at the time who was also really questioning and into similar music and stuff,
Mhm.
who ended up becoming atheistic. And but I just didn't feel like I could go all the way to saying it was just complete ludicrous and the whole thing was just crazy. I don't know. So I started to consider different arguments and look at different belief systems. Um, explored more music genres, especially different subgenres of metal,
Hmm.
which I used to find like online, and
Hmm.
it mainly like made me feel good to listen to, like free and just kind of a release from the negative emotions that I had sometimes. And then I started researching things online. Really got curious about Satanism since people were calling me a Satanist.
Wow.
I
Mm.
really wanted to know what that was and like why and what the different alternatives to Christianity were and how it was connected to this music that people kept calling satanic and stuff. So
Mhm.
really explored like atheistic ideologies, different types of Satanism, found out there's like a couple different ones.
Yep. Hmm.
And noticed that they all kind of pin Christianity as like an oppressive, unenlightened religion. Um, so I always kind of stayed open because I just didn't really like fully resonate with the extremes or anything. Like just
Yeah.
me,
Hmm.
either could be true. I don't know, um, or there could be something else.
Yeah.
um, and then my school classes throughout high school covered a lot of the different belief systems around the world and throughout history, and
Hmm.
some of the apologetics for the existence of God and Jesus Christ, which are really interesting, but they were all like intellectual and logical. So I
Hmm.
still like didn't feel like, oh, I'm convinced now that Christian is right or Jesus is real. Um, like it didn't like it was just in my head. It didn't mean anything.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I also made two very good friends at that high school. And one of them came out as gay that year.
Hmm.
Um, and then my other friend was in like a similar position with experiencing a lot of like rejection from the church and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
then the friend who came out as gay was kicked out of the school at the end of the year. So he did not come back. And the other friend also did not come back.
Oh, wow.
So that was my freshman year of high school.
Yeah. Now, did you stay in touch with those friends after they left or got kicked out of school?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Hmm.
still friends with them now.
Yeah. I want to talk about the Satanism and the metal music. Did you find a connection or a correlation between the two?
Um, So there's definitely certain subgenres of metal that do classify as satanic, but for the rest of it, they don't want any association with that label.
Yeah.
They're
Hmm.
more like just atheistic or different. Some of them are pagan.
Hmm.
So there's just a lot of different belief systems within that genre. So you can't really classify it all as that.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know how it all got lumped into one kind of
Yeah.
category,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then so in the one subgenre that is like openly satanic or Luciferian, where they do like worship the devil and or different, they wouldn't call it that, but um, I was like very curious about that one and drawn to like the different sounds of it. And I did feel like a certain connection with it in a way.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like freedom and just peace, like from different feelings that I had. So there was one in the year after my friends left that school. I was like alone a lot and pretty like depressed and isolated. So that music to me was just exactly like how I felt. Um, I think that's what really drew me in. It was like a relief, like I'm not alone and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there was that almost like that emotional release
mhm.
that was healing for you. What is some of the metal music that you liked, and how did it speak to you? What was the connection there? Were there artists or specific songs that
Probably. I tend to listen to a lot of genres and artists. I don't really like stick to
Mhm.
like a few or anything for the most part, but yeah, a lot of the stuff that I really liked was really atmospheric. I guess the vocals were very distorted.
Mhm.
If there were any vocals, some of it was just instrumental. Um, there was just something about it that was just like just a I don't know, I just went into like this space where um it just felt like I can explain.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. One thing that I've noticed also about the satanic aspect as well too is that a lot of that culture is really really more about just rebelling against oppressive patriarchal systems, really, is what it comes down to. And I think that's what gets missed a lot. And I think that's where a lot of the stigmas, kind of come up around that, where
That's a really
where
good point. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, I've studied a little bit about about the branches of Satanism and the Satanic Church, and also the the mythology around Lucifer as well too, which I personally consider the character of Satan to be separate from the archangel Lucifer, which is a different archetype to me. But really, what it represents is some of those. I don't call them lower vibrations anymore. I call them more dense feelings that need require expression, because if they don't get expressed, if they don't get let out, it really messes with you and messes with your mental health, and it really limits authenticity.
Mhm.
So, so that's what I've always appreciated about the people that I knew who were in that culture, was that there was a respect for authenticity, and that rebellion against oppressive, the what those that oppressive energy. And I think that's one of the things that might be helpful in really just breaking stigma around the culture. So yeah, so that's personally, I think that was very brave of you to be able to look into that and to study that, and to find a voice, and to find an element of healing with that. So again, I think that was very brave. And did you have any friends or anybody else in that culture that you had conversations about that counterculture, or that expression?
A little bit, yeah. Kinda, I mean, they weren't, like, on the inside of it. I really wanted to I wish I could have met people who were really on the inside of it more than just having to go in online and forums and websites to figure out, like, what they're thinking and feeling. But
Yeah, yeah, great. Let's go to the next part of your writing.
sure. Um, so listening to the music, I felt like it was, like, alive, like, there's more to it than just the music maybe.
Mm,
Like, maybe there's something behind it. Maybe there is like a spiritual world kind of thing. So I started really wondering if maybe like there is a God somehow or something, and
mhm,
just more to life kind of thing, I guess. Uh,
mhm,
and what really wanted to know, like one way or another, like is atheism right? Is theism right? What is this?
mhm,
Um, so I started to like pray, um, and like just kind of like genuinely just like pray to like hoping like there was like a God that could hear me or something, and like if you're real, like I want to know, like show me somehow. I don't know.
mhm.
Um, and I think I prayed about other things too during the time because it was just like a testing period to kind of
Yeah.
find out what would happen if anything, or I didn't really expect anything to happen.
Mhm,
um, and then after a lot of months went by, I kind of had this moment on the way home from school one day. I was just like on the bus, sitting alone with my music, and um, it felt like I was experiencing like God in that moment. Because I just felt like all this peace and happiness just like flooded with it.
mhm,
Um, and I started to realize like all these things that I hadn't really paid attention to over the course of the last few months. Like the prayers I had been praying, some of them had come true. I don't remember what they were at this point. But then there was a teacher I had at that high school as well who really like seemed very compassionate toward me, seemed to notice that I, like, wasn't feeling, like, okay in her classroom, um, and she would, like, pray out loud sometimes and say things in the prayers that were, like, dead on accurate, and I was like,
mhm,
"How does she know anything?" Like, I didn't tell her anything.
mhm,
So I found that to be pretty weird, like, in a good way, is there a God that somehow knows and is, like, speaking through her or something? I don't know. Um
Mm,
So it just seemed like there was a lot going on, and like I was getting some kind of like answer at that time.
mhm.
So then in that moment, I felt like I understood it's intuition, like experiencing God, that really makes people believe in a God. It's not all those intellectual arguments and
Yes.
proving he's real kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, I also felt relief from the depression. Like I didn't feel so connected to the music for a while, like for about a year at least after that. Um, I became, like, more social, able to open up with other kids at school and, like, grow my friendship circle a little bit, and it was just, like, a really expansive and healing year following that experience.
Mhm.
Um, so I felt like after that point, like, I know, like, there's something out there, there's God, like, but I don't really know if it's connected with Christianity exactly because I was questioning,
Mhm.
um, this thing around, like, homosexuality and because I had gay friends and
Mhm.
they weren't really treated by Christians with love. They were
Yeah.
rejected and people wouldn't be friends with them. People would tell them they're going to hell, like just crazy things. Um, and I didn't really feel like even if it was morally wrong in some way, like it's also morally wrong to treat people that way. So it's just why would
Yeah.
you do that? Um, so that was hard for me to wrap my head around, and I didn't feel like an inner sense of like that's wrong. So I just didn't understand how do people. Now I was questioning like how do people know that's wrong?
Yeah.
So for me, everything comes back to a question, and then I feel unsure all over again.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so um, I felt like in a state of confusion and just kind of discordance with like what do I believe
Mhm.
at this point? Like how do I move forward from here? And um, then in my senior year, which like so that was like my whole junior year, the great expansive like healing year.
Mhm.
Um, in my senior year, I started to kind of like spiral down with my mental health because I was
Mhm.
supposed to start getting a job, start looking at college. What am I going to major? It was just a lot of stressful decision making. I was like applying for jobs and not able to get any.
Yeah.
And then also like wasn't having a great like relationship with my mom at that time, so it was
Mhm.
just a lot of different stressful things. I didn't feel like the things I wanted to major that I was really interested in would lead to any good job prospects like after college, so it seemed
Mhm.
like a waste or wasn't sure how I was going to even afford college.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
just crazy, so I got unfortunately really discouraged and self-destructive. So
Mm.
then I started exploring different drugs, alcohol, and like partying and that kind of whole thing. I
Mhm.
also enrolled in a community college. I was going to major English, but after some art classes, I almost changed my major to art because some
Mm.
of the teachers said, like, pointed out, I don't know, they thought they liked
Mm.
my artwork, I guess.
Very
Um,
cool. Very
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
So then I ended up in this relationship um, with this guy who was a drug addict, and he was like kind of like abusive, narcissistic, which I didn't know what any of that was at the time. Ended up finding
Sure.
out through that
Mhm.
process. Um, but when I met him, I was wearing this phoenix necklace. One of my friends had given me. No idea what a phoenix was, but I thought it looked really cool. And so throughout the whole period of the early college days, in all that self destruction, there were moments where like I would just inhale a lot of dust off or like try to jump out of a car kind of thing.
Mm.
Fortunately,
Mm.
people stopped me, but there was just moments where I just wanted to throw it all away because I didn't see a future for myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, it just felt really low.
Mhm. Yeah. And like the phoenix, you rise from the ashes. I was talking to Kylea a week or so ago that the phoenix is kind of like the highest expression of the Scorpio energy. So there's the snake, there's the scorpion, and then I think there's uh,
You go.
the eagle, and then there's the phoenix. So it was really really cool that you had that talisman of the phoenix. Did you know the connection at the time, or were you into astrology at that time?
Nope.
And no, well, yeah,
Yeah,
very,
none of that.
yeah, very very cool. Well, I'm glad that Yeah, I'm glad that those tough times really, that you're here. That's a blessing and a gift. And I've been through that myself, as I'm sure you know. Part of the reason why I do this work is I work with people in the mental health field, specifically with suicide and with bullying. It sounds like your experiences, especially during that time, were particularly stressful.
Yeah.
And if you had to give somebody advice or counsel them, if someone was going through what you were going through at that moment, what would you say to them? How would you yeah, what would you like them to know?
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. If you could go
Yeah.
back and talk to 18-year-old Rebecca, what would you tell her?
Mm. Definitely there's more to life. You know, there's a lot of good in life, not just all bad or dark, and
Mhm.
um there's good in people and light in the world, and we have a choice of whether we're going to cater to the dark or the light
Mm.
and be a part of making things better and becoming better ourselves, which we have the power to do, or be destructive and throw things away and have a hard life. But
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be, permanently hard. There's a lot to enjoy, a lot of meaning. So
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. We'll explore a little bit of that meaning here. We are at 8:32, and that went by very, very fast. But this is so awesome for me because this is the most I've ever heard you talk and express yourself, and it's a real gift. It really is. And I when I read when I read what you had written, I was very touched. And if you feel ready, I'd like to keep going through that. Go to the next piece.
yeah, thanks. So in the middle of that relationship with the drug addict, I started having these other experiences. For example, there was this woman that was over one day at his apartment where we were. I'm not sure how he had met her, but there was a moment where she was alone with me, and she just, started saying all this stuff like she wanted to help me, and she was from a family of mystics, and she's a storyteller, and I'm a storyteller. Like she was like, you are too. And when I was 18, someone helped me, and I want to help you. And I was 18 at the time, so that was kind of strange, like in a good way. Um, and there was a lot of other things like throughout interacting with her that I just found her like kind of like fascinating. She seemed really wise. And then in the moment that she was speaking to me, like telling me all these things about the that she was a mystic, she was telling me also that things were going to get worse before they got better, but they were going to get better. And something about that just really like resonated and like touched me on like a deep level. Like it just felt true, like somehow. Um, and she told me I would like find my voice, and I wasn't even sure what that meant. And also, I didn't put this in the writing, but um, at like the very end, that when she had finished, I saw like this bright like white light. Like I felt kind of similar to when you black out, but it was like white instead. And I don't know what that was. I've always wondered, but
Mhm.
yeah. So after that day, I didn't really see her again after that. So I had a bunch of questions. I was like, what did I experience this time? Um, I don't know where to go with it, but she had looked up my birth chart at some point before that day that we had that talk. And so I knew about this website that I could go and look at my chart up. So that's how I got into astrology and chart reading. I started researching just a lot of different things, and then ended up discovering the phoenix and the meaning of the mythology and the rebirth and all that. And the whole time that I was reading about it,
Mhm.
um, it was just something inside was just like resonating or something. I don't know how to describe it, but I was like, oh my God, like this is what's happening right now. Um, And
Now,
then the fabulous,
before you go on,
yeah.
Rebecca, let's talk about your astrology chart for a moment. What were some of the aspects, or what were some of the details of your chart that you found most poignant about you?
When I first looked at it,
Mhm.
I
When you
had no
first looked at
idea.
it, and to
Yeah.
now, yeah.
When I first looked at it, I had no idea what any of it meant. I was just slowly, I would just Google and like find information like what is the sun sign? What does this mean? So I slowly learned like the planets, the houses. And then over time, there's just always something new to learn about the chart. There's always something I didn't know before that
Mhm,
like another part of the chart, like the part of fortune or just
mhm.
there's like Chiron.
Yeah.
um so there's so much more than just your sun sign, and then there's the aspects, which I haven't learned all the way
Mhm,
those yet, but yeah, they're like kind of the last thing.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah. What's your moon and
yeah.
rising?
Sorry.
Mhm.
Sun sign is Scorpio, rising sign is Gemini. I
Okay,
also
me
have
too.
Mars in the first house. in
Yeah, me
um,
too.
yeah. And then my
Very
moon
cool.
sign is Capricorn, which is in the
Mhm.
eighth house.
Yeah, wow.
My sun is in the sixth house.
Hmm. Gotcha. Yep. Service. Yep.
Yeah.
Work, service, and
Health
health. Yep.
improvement. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Keep on going.
um, so let's see. So I started having a lot of new thoughts again, kind of like before, just thoughts I'd never had before, like just
Mhm,
realizing that instead of all these like depressive thoughts that I was just like worthless and all these things, it was like the opposite. Like, no, you have like a purpose and we have a choice on who to be. Like it doesn't matter what you've been doing. Like you can choose different and you can be different. And
mhm,
there's like a good side to everyone that like you can choose to grow that and develop that instead of the other like feeding into like your depression and stuff. That's another thing I'd probably tell my 18-year-old self.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So within the next several months, like I would try to break up with that guy a couple times and then we would end up back together somehow. It's just crazy. But eventually finally like cut that off. Like using my own intuition when I realized it was like an emotionally abusive, narcissistic issue there. I knew like there was no way to like kind of keep him in my life unless he was going to change, which they don't. So
Mhm,
I needed to, instead of putting love toward that person, put it towards myself, learn self love. And then I moved away from like the drinking and partying and drugs and all that. Um, just like really started to turn my life around and figure out how I could get healthy and like make up for lost time, develop my skills and like um just like get physically in shape and mentally better and stronger.
mhm,
Um like to counter all the depression years that I'd had and like be
mhm,
positive instead, but like not forced positive, just learning how to become happier kind of thing.
mhm,
Um, so like in that like after that experience and that relationship, it was like I plummeted into like this dark night of the soul where which I didn't know what that was at the time either. It's just these terms I've picked up over time learning, like trying to figure out what I was going through.
yeah.
Um, where I just felt like really, really disconnected from everyone. Like even though all these great things were going on, like internally,
Mhm,
um, it was definitely hard feeling isolated. Like I'd had an experience like other people around me didn't really understand or have. And like I was wanting like more to life and just wanting to know like if there was like a purpose in life and what my purpose was, and just like achieve something meaningful kind of thing.
mhm.
Um,
What is that to you? Achieving something meaningful.
um, I always seen it as like not having social anxiety and being
Mhm,
able to like impact other people in a way that really helps them in some really deep, meaningful way to them.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
like being able to like inspire or transform something in some way that's like bad to good, that kind of thing,
mhm,
I guess.
mhm. Nice, nice, very good. What do you do these days to take care of yourself and to express love for yourself?
Yeah, definitely exercise. That's really important. It's not always every day now, but like it's pretty, several times a week. intense exercise specifically. Um, Eating, trying to eat well. Um, and then there's like these different inner healing things I'm working on right now. Um, just like taking time to reflect and like think about what's going on with you, I guess, and notice different things that come up. Um, and then finding solutions for different things. Um, so just taking the time to try and affirm and look for ways that validate like new beliefs.
Mhm.
The belief that like that I am worthy or I am, good or something, like
Yeah.
a caring person, and instead of the negative things that I would think.
Hmm. Yep. Very good. Very good. How far along are we now? I know there was 5 pages.
Yeah, yeah. um See, we're almost where I'm at currently, so I mean, we're on.
Oh, great. Wow. All right. And we're at 8:41. So we're right on schedule. This is awesome. All right. It's neat how that works out.
Yeah. um should I read, you think, the whole part, or just kind of get into where I'm at now?
No, let's keep reading. I enjoyed every moment of what you wrote. So let's just keep going through and go through it all. So
All right. Oh, I started to notice just like that there was a lot of like lack of growth in people, like
yeah.
people weren't like actively trying to grow or get better or take care of themselves. There was a lot of like people are like doing what I was doing, like drugs, or just they're depressed. There's just all these things and they're not figuring out how to like move beyond that or like find more in life. And that was hard to see like on many levels, just because one, I care and I don't want that for people. I
Mhm.
know what it's like, and but also like I can't be around it in some ways, like on a like they're not going to be able to support me if I'm moving in a different direction kind of thing,
Right.
unless
Mhm.
they've had the same like realizations. um so it's just hard. I guess I saw that like not only religious people, but also just all people have the potential for dark or bad to like judge each other or mistreat each other and get in these like conflicts and different things um, that just like aren't really good or helpful for us when we could be like finding solutions and growth instead. And I didn't really know why more people weren't doing that. So on some levels, I was like a little frustrated with it too at times, and I wanted more people to be like where I was at, so that I had some company in my corner, kind of thing. We could like push each other or something. Um, yeah. So my passions for like health and wellness and psychology and spirituality and all that personal development um, led me to majoring in nutrition and communication, because I thought I could use my writing skills for like promoting health through health organizations and like professionals and stuff like that.
Very cool.
Um,
Mhm.
but I guess I kind of thought that like I was listening to the societal way of like go to school, get a job kind of thing. It's supposed to all work out and then you make money and
Mhm.
have life. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
but
everything will be okay. Just work hard and everything's going to be okay.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
like I worked really hard to get good grades, graduate. I mean, it was not easy. And then it was like a slap in the face after that to not be able to get in the field I wanted.
Mhm.
And just so frustrating.
Yeah. Now, what do you attribute to that, Becky, not being able to work in the field that you wanted?
Um, I like probably a lot of different factors, but like a huge part of it's probably the social anxiety introversion. I do feel like society does not want like introverted people in any profession, or if
Mm,
you don't pull it off in the interview, which is really hard for me to do, that's it. Like
yeah.
interviews are just how do you, I don't know. I've been trying to
Mm.
learn, but so that's a huge
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah. And that's the thing where I'm finding like with time banking as well too, is like how do we nurture these relationships where we're really committed to digging the value out of each other, so
Yeah.
that it's not so much about the judgment. It's about a commitment to finding what's really there and to letting that be, and just coming to the table not with any expectations, but just holding the space, for those gifts to come out. And yeah, yeah, that's what comes up for me and all that. Because yeah, society is very unforgiving when it comes to, when it comes to that, when it comes to being an
Like
introvert.
humanity, because
Yeah.
we all have flaws, and it's like we have to pretend to be perfect. I don't know.
The thing is, that's not even a flaw. I don't even see that as a flaw, being an introvert. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of, many people are, and a lot of people are introverts, and they fake being an extrovert, and yeah, it's just how do you get past the facade and just, you know, let, let the gifts and the talent just flow without having to convince or to impress anybody.
Yeah,
Yep. All right.
yeah. Sorry, I'm just taking a moment to take in what you said.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good because wow, we got a lot in there. There's a
Yeah,
lot in this. So all good. All good.
yeah. I mean, well, the rest of it is just mainly um, just how it's been hard to have like a support system, or like make friends for this whole long
Mhm,
period, since I had like this awakening or whatever.
mhm,
But probably due to the social anxiety and who knows.
mhm.
um, but since I moved to Phoenixville, I feel like I've been meeting a lot of people who I feel like aligned with, who are interested in, health and growth and change and these other things, arts, and that I
Yeah.
wasn't really finding in my hometown that I grew up in. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Where
it's
was your
they're definitely
hometown? Where
different
where
out
did you
here.
grow up?
Delaware County, like near
Okay.
Ridley and stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, Phoenixville is a wonderful community, and very vibrant with creative and artistic energy, and um especially at the generation we're at. You're a little bit of a different generation than I'm in, but it's that Phoenixville culture is something that I'm hoping that we can continue to nurture. And there's been some barriers to that. We've talked a little bit about that online with some of our friends, with Jamie and Janelle, and now with Lori. But yeah, tell me more about your experiences in Phoenixville. What kind of cultural influences, or what kind of what have you enjoyed most about living in Phoenixville?
Yeah. So one of the first things I did was start at the time bank.
Yep.
um, and that ended up being really interesting through Diana and through meeting you and the group that we did, and how we've continued to stay in touch and do these other things ever since.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think I've met Henrik through doing the Phoenix build a couple times.
Okay.
And
What is that? The Phoenix build, did you
yeah,
say?
where they build the big wooden bird that they burn down every year.
Okay, cool. Oh, very neat.
Mm.
Very neat. Yeah. Yeah. I used to do theater at the Forge Theater years ago now. I think the last show I did was I think in 2016, but I think I did about two or three shows there. And one of the things I really would like to initiate is to have these kinds of living library conversations with actors and directors and anybody involved with the theatrical arts, even painters, set designers, and just have conversations about why the art matters, what is the healing aspect of the art. So so thank you for helping me jog up my feelings for what I've experienced with Phoenixville and with the theater scene there.
Awesome.
Yeah, very cool. So what's next? I've asked this in one of our exploring integrity groups, but I'm going to ask again and see if the answer changed. What is the highest possibility that you would like to experience?
From our group.
Let's start from our group and then with your life, in your life. But let's start with in our group.
I'm definitely really interested in the economic reform aspect of it. That's always been kind of there with the different groups we've been doing. Um,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, I would like to see definitely things go in a different direction societally, culturally,
Mhm.
economically. Yeah.
Yeah, good, because that's what I'm going to be inviting others into is viewing these living library conversations and also viewing our exploring integrity conversations, because what we're role modeling first and foremost is just how to have conversations with people, first of all, where there's not so much about hierarchy, but it really is about a give and a take. And then what that does is that leads into the time banking aspect of it, and the time banking leads into the economic reform. So we're kind of building a bridge, building a course here on how to just launch a living library, how to manage it through time banking, and then how to really begin to help each other understand what it's going to take to have that kind of economic reform. So I'm glad to hear you say that because you've been involved with the Deep Democracy Group, and that kind of evolved and emerged into what we're doing here and exploring integrity. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that you're a part of this, and that hopefully, if all goes as planned, this will be a program that people will be watching for years, and they'll visit. Oh, okay, yeah, there's Becky. Yeah, okay, so she was in exploring integrity, and look at how much she's talking here in this conversation and expressing herself. This is awesome. So, highest intention for your life.
It really involves transforming, nurturing of some kind, compassion. Yeah, I mean, I want to see more people growing, like choosing to grow and find solutions and um, just being able to somehow be part of that, I guess.
Mhm. Yep. Very good. Excellent. Great. So the last thing I usually ask is what did you appreciate most about this conversation tonight? And what are you most curious about exploring moving forward? So we'll start with, what did you appreciate about this conversation?
Really appreciated you listening, giving some of your thoughts here and there,
Mhm.
being interested and open to hearing what I have to say. Yeah.
Thank you. And what are you curious about exploring moving forward?
Um, Definitely, I'm curious about what's going to be in our next group.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, coming up on the 15th. And just definitely exploring the living library conversation or living library um, time bank that you mentioned.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. To put a little more, give a little more explanation about that. Yeah, what I've been thinking about doing is taking what was established with the Karmic Margin Call project and possibly turning it into the living library time bank, so that it really encourages people to have relationship-driven exchanges first, where we get to know each other as people rather than try to solicit services right away from each other because that's a slippery slope. But I think developing the relationship, investing the time in developing relationships, will eventually lead to more service-based exchanges. So yeah, so that's definitely something that I'm considering, and this living library series will determine if that's the direction we go or if we go in a different direction. And either way is fine.
Mhm.
Well, Becky, thank you again for this conversation, for being a part of this, for sharing of yourself, and just being an inspiration. Like everything I would really like to invite you into more of our mental health conversations and our mental health work as well too, which really relies on the artistic expression for healing. So we can talk about that here in the near future.
Yeah, that's
But yeah, that's great. I'm going to stop the recording right now. Here we go.